The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Today I had a great conversation with my friend Dr. Douglas Frank. And what a guy! What an incredible American patriot! He has done so much work with the issues of election integrity that we face in this country and in Kansas. And he's going to be here in Overland Park, Kansas on Friday, May 9th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. at the Johnson County Republican headquarters. I'll have the address and so forth on the bottom of the screen here for you. 10107 West 105th Street in Overland Park, Kansas, 66212. That's this coming Friday night, May 9th. This conversation is just dynamic. Election integrity is one of my key pillars, as I run for governor in the state of Kansas. And the experience that I bring with regards to my corporate world environment and running collective bargaining and agreements, contracts, multi-billion-dollar agreements between corporations and unions, bringing people together, establishing teams, and discovering waste, fraud, and abuse is exactly what Dr. Frank does in terms of uncovering election integrity issues. And people in Kansas, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that if there is a politician currently in office or someone who is seeking to be in office who is telling you that we do not have election integrity issues in the state of Kansas, that person's lying to you, or they're just vastly uninformed. And we cannot and we must not let them continue to perpetrate this fraud and abuse and the integrity issues that we have in Kansas. We have got to remedy them. And this change and this remedy never, words are important, never starts at the top. It always starts at the grassroots level. And that's why this campaign is going to be successful in the long run. It won't be won with people who have, or by people who have money. It won't be run by hiring Axiom or other high-dollar Washington, D.C. consultancy firms. It's going to be won by you and how a candidate aligns with you and what the candidate does and says and the passion by which he speaks. And so that's the reason this campaign will have success. And there, of course, will be kooks along the way who will try to distract and defraud and say things that are crazy and nonsensical to try to talk you out of it, because we represent what they don't want to lose, and that is their grip on the swamp and the establishment behind the swamp. Here is the conversation that I had with my friend, Dr. Doug Frank. Enjoy it, and we hope to see you Friday night, May 9th, in Overland Park, Kansas. Here's Dr. Doug Frank. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right Side with Doug Billings, Right Side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Right Side. Doug Billings here with you, and with my friend Dr. Doug Frank. Dr. Frank, what a great thrill it is to have you back. Look, we met somewhere along the way, on this path that we've all been on really since 2020. Well, speaking for myself at least, when the world was turned upside down with COVID and the theft of an American presidential election and so forth, and starting this show 5 years ago and meeting you and working with you, we also have something beautiful in common, and that is we each have a child who has what I call the divine chromosome.
The 21st extra one and 21.
Yes, right. Trisomy 21, and they're beautiful kids, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. You are on a tour, and you're talking about one of my topics that I've talked about since 2020, and that's election integrity. I'm coming to you from Kansas, and here in our state, where you will be appearing on Friday evening, by the way, we'll talk about that in a moment. But you would think that with a quote unquote Republican supermajority in our legislature, that we would be able to have our way with rooting out fraud and waste and
One would think.
in election integrity issues, but we don't. And I am continually telling people, if members of the elected class or those who are seeking to be members of the elected class are telling you that we don't have election integrity issues in Kansas or in the country as a whole, they're either vastly uninformed or they're lying to you. What say you?
I would say you don't have to listen to Doug Billings. You don't have to listen to Doug Frank. You can listen to your own Kansas legislature that did their own research into it in 2018 and 2020. Some people might remember that I testified before your legislature a couple years ago. And the day I stood there and gave my presentation for 35 minutes on television, Tatum Lee, at the end of my 35 minutes, she held up a report in her hand. She says, "Hey, everybody, I'm a new legislator. I'm new on this committee. And I did a little research and I discovered that our own Kansas research department of our house did the same research Dr. Frank did and came to the same conclusions. Everybody can read it word for word right here." And she showed the pages. And when I heard that after me giving my 35-minute presentation, I was like, what was I thinking in my mind? I was thinking, dude, I own Kansas. I just did my own analysis. I totally predicted exactly everything they just said. Dude, next state, please. I'm thinking I had won the day. And when she said that, the audience erupted in applause and everybody's like, woohoo, woohoo, we got this. And so that night at Applebee's, sorry for the ad, we were all in Applebee's that night having a celebration, about 50 or 60 of us in a restaurant. And I got out my cell phone and called Mr. Lindell and we said, "Hey, Mr. Lindell, here's the team that made it all happen. Woohoo. We're all celebrating." But while we were celebrating, the Kansas legislature met that night. And the next day they voted Tatum Lee's district out of existence. Okay. So this is a Republican, quote unquote, legislature in your state, but they are not interested at all in the least bit in election integrity. And they don't want that brought up in any of their discussions either. So you don't have to listen to me, even though I found the same thing your research department found. You don't have to listen to me, but it's absolutely real. And everybody thinks that the solution is for me to go talk to the legislature and them to say, "Oh my, we got a problem," and then write laws to fix it. Wrong. There isn't a single legislature in this country that is fixing their elections. I've had to learn that the hard way. I've been working from the grassroots up. I've been teaching grassroots how to find fraud in their own elections, what their constitutional rights are, how to organize, how to form war councils, I call them, because we're in a fifth generation war, and how to engage and how to disengage from the state election systems. That's what I've been teaching. So really, that's what I'm going to be talking about Friday night. I'm going to be showing data. I'm going to give you a little teaser here. I'm going to show people how Trump did not win the election in 2024. He did not win. The Democrats lost. And I'm going to show you the data. I'm a data guy. I'm a scientist. And so I'm going to show you that that is the case. All this stuff about too big to rig and all this stuff, this is a psyop being foisted on you by the Republican Party.
You just said he didn't win 2024. Did I hear you correctly?
You heard me correctly. He didn't win. The Democrats lost.
Okay.
And God did a miracle. I joke about it, but God kept Biden alive. And the Democrat Party was completely in disarray. And I'll show the statistics for every state, and you will see that this too big to rig idea was a complete failure. And most states, Trump didn't change any at all. So all this stuff about trying to get the turnouts up didn't work. And when I first heard that phrase a year ago, March, I went back to my hotel room because I'm a data guy, and I did the calculation, and I said, even if the Republican Party does a magnificent job registering Republicans and chasing the ballots and and harvesting them, that they're only going to increase Trump's turnout by 3%. And I put that out. I was talking, I talk almost every day somewhere around the country, and I was telling everybody in all the events that that's what it was. Guess how much Trump went up by? 3%.
3%.
Okay. And people don't look at the numbers. They just listen to the spin that they hear. And so, no, what we were up against was a $10 million surplus in 2020. The solution isn't to try to beat the cheat. Fat chance of that. It's too huge. the solution is to fix our elections. We got to fix our elections. So that was the argument I was making at the time. And so I'll be talking about that on Friday night and walking people through my 7 steps. I call it 7 steps for taking back our elections. And I also hear that on Friday night, I'm going to be doing something else super important in Kansas. I hear I'm going to be endorsing your race for governor. So why would I want to do such a thing?
Well, I'll tell you, Dr. Frank, it's because we're both, look, thank you. First of all, yes, that's breaking news. We're honored to get your endorsement. Here's in my own words, in my own way of saying it, election integrity is a real issue, and we are up against a swamp of establishment rhino
100%
members of our elected class who just refuse, for a number of reasons. I mean, we can talk about that, but let's just, for the sake of simplicity, they refuse to talk about it because they are bought and paid for by the establishment, who tries to manipulate the system behind the scenes with electronic machines, drop boxes early. I'm so fed up. I can go down I can give you a litany of reasons why.
We could share lists.
Yes. And so I am fed up. And when I'm asked the question, why do you want to run to be governor? And the truth really is, I don't. Why would I want to give up this podcast that's been fairly successful and go and face the onslaught of kooks who are going to be coming out and spinning things into a negative fashion about me, my life, and my family? The answer is, although I don't want to, I have to, because no one else will tell the people in these kinds of terms and with this kind of passion what the truth is. And I'm sick of the establishment politicians. And so I'm running on a platform as an outsider, a businessman and former entrepreneur who in 2020—
Sounds familiar to me.
I mean, imagine that. There might be a template out there that
might be. I'll tell you, I normally I would say to somebody, why are you trying to run for governor? Why don't you just try to get into the legislature or something like that? Except that now I'm politically wise. I wasn't politically wise 4 or 5 years ago, but I am now. And I've learned that nothing's going to happen through the legislature, just like nothing's going to happen through our Congress either, which is why we had to put somebody at the top who's got the hatchet out and the wrecking ball. Right. And that's why. So I applaud actually your willingness to step up for governor, and I'm be delighted to endorse you. Let's get some pictures together and we'll write an endorsement and get that thing out there officially.
Well, that's wonderful.
But you're not going to win unless we can get the grassroots to wake up and to realize this is the solution. Let's get behind this guy.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm telling you, you know what your biggest opposition is going to be?
What's that?
The Republican Party.
Republican Party. Yeah.
They're going to be your biggest opposition. They're going to try to take you out in the primary.
Yep. No doubt about it. And to your point, we certainly need the grassroots. This election, I'm telling you, there are people that are going to be in this race who are incredibly wealthy people. And I'm telling you, money's not going to win this thing. It's the connection that we must establish with the grassroots, much like your issue in your 7 steps. You can have all the data in the world, which you do, by the way, but data is not going to win the day with regards to election integrity. It's how we invoke the grassroots from the bottom up, and we, the people, as the founders intended, by the way, take back the system and the election process.
This can work. I've seen it. It's when I first started my work back in 2021, I thought I could fix everything from the top down. That's like when I was talking to your legislature and stuff like that. I had to learn that doesn't work, and we have to do it from the ground up. And it took me about a year, I think, before I refined a strategy that actually started really functioning. And it's been spotty, but lately, I'd say in the last 6 months, boy, is it surging. We're doing really well. Our biggest problem is apathy on the people. They say, well, Trump won, Dr. Frank. What are you worried about? What am I worried about? Are you kidding? We're going to lose the midterms. And the first thing the new Congress is going to do is impeach Trump. We've got this narrow window where we've got a chance to fix things. And we got to move. We got to move now. I liken it to World War II. Trump is bombing Berlin. We got to invade Normandy. You don't win a war with air power. You win a war with ground troops, but you need the air support's nice. And it's awfully nice having those executive orders coming down. It's actually been kind of fun watching the news again. But the problem with the executive orders is they're temporary. The next administration just undo them all, just like Trump is undoing Biden. Well, the next administration will just undo Trump's unless we fix our elections. We got to, the people that work for us in the legislature have to represent us. And we don't ask them for permission. We tell them what we want. It's not the other way around. But guess what? It is the other way around. We've been conditioned over decades into this frog in the pot stuff. We're letting them dictate everything. We got to take that back.
Well, and it's so much common sense. I can't imagine the intellectual immaturity that it takes to be able to think that we disagree with electronic machines and going back to paper, and watermarked ballots, taking all the precautions that you have spoken about.
Sure.
And I'm a purist, though. I would like to get back to the true founder's intent: election day, not election month, not election week. And I know that that's a huge convenience for some people, and they become dependent on it. I don't want to wait in line. Doug, I don't want to. Oh, Dr. Doug and Doug, I don't want to wait in line for 5 hours on election day. And my response is, excuse me, I wonder if the soldiers that went to the battlefield to die to protect your right to stand in line would have minded or would have wanted not to have done that. But they did.
We don't sacrifice integrity of an election for convenience. Never. That's not. Every one of those ballots is paid for with blood. So you're absolutely
100%.
right. And by the way, 20 or 30 years ago, when we were running our own elections on paper on a single day, hand counting the ballots, when we were doing that as a people, we did it in a single day, and we were only 10% smaller than we are now. We can do this. We just have to decide that we're going to do it and not let somebody else. Like Stalin said, it doesn't matter who casts the votes. What matters is who counts the votes. And there's 132, Mike Lindell, I'm good friends with him, and he's fond of saying 132 countries have already outlawed all the machines. What's wrong with us? We need to run our elections ourselves. That's my whole strategy is based upon people taking back local control of their elections. That doesn't mean we're not going to have fraud. We're always going to have fraud. Of course, we're always going to have election fraud. But right now, it's so centrally controlled by every state that it's hackable and manipulatable. We need it back under the eyes and hands of the local people. That's my whole thrust.
And the swamp is so intertwined in all of this. To your point earlier, talking about how the legislature eliminated an entire district of a representative simply for presenting research data. Now, let me go back to that just for 1 minute. Who in the legislature, and feel free to be candid, who headed up that movement to eliminate this person's district?
I don't know the name
of a group
of
person, people. Yeah,
but there was a committee that I testified to. I think they called it. It's been a couple of years, so I may get this wrong, but I think they called it the government committee. It's the committee that's in charge of the elections in your state. I didn't speak to the whole legislature. I spoke to that committee, and it was an hour-and-a-half talk. And that committee was furious with me, and they were very. One of the first questions, it was an hour-and-a-half long, just me and them, but televised. And one of the first questions, somebody slammed his fist on the desk. He said, "Dr. Frank, who's paying you to do this?" And it was lovely because nobody's paying me to do this. I'm a patriot. I'm fighting for my country. And I pointed to the 25 people or so that had come with me and were sitting in the chambers there. And I said, these people contributed for my plane ticket. And that's how I'm here. And, it was so nice that I could say that, because there are grifters in the election integrity movement. There are people that are, and I never wanted to be associated with them. I'm not in as bad a shape as Mr. Lindell is. He's 40 million in the hole now, personally, not to mention all the lawsuits for billions of dollars sued against him. So I'm not sure exactly who led that effort against her, but Tatum Lee is the gal, and she was a sweetheart. When she attended one of my talks, she saw, once she realized what was going on, she was in tears. She's like, "Oh, Dr. Frank, we got to fix our state." And I'm like, "Yes, you do." And so and I was coaching her, and there were about 5 or 6 of your legislators that were on board at that point in Kansas. Yep. And I met with them privately. We were getting organized. And then down came the hammer. And your legislature basically said, and she's not the only victim. I could go state after state. Any legislator in this country who stood up for election integrity, the establishment rhinos, I guess you could call them, in every state have been eliminating them. So it's like the end of your political career if you want to have honest elections. So I'm not sure who the person was who led it up, but I can tell you that committee was probably starting that.
Well, and I can tell you that, as governor of Kansas, although I may not have the extent of President Trump's ability to issue executive orders, I will be looking at every department that is under the governor's purview, and I'm going to implement KDOJ, the Kansas Department of Government Efficiency, much like what Elon has done in the federal level. And we're going to, I'm telling you, Dr. Frank, we're going to not only look at election integrity, number 1 on our list, by the way, we're also going to look at every department the governor has purview over, and we're going to save hundreds of millions close to $1 billion in fraud, waste, and abuse in the state of Kansas, which will be used, I hope. The governor can't make this decision by himself. He's got to work with the legislature to reduce or eliminate property tax and other things. That's what I would like to do. But the governor has a bully pulpit, and the governor can talk to the people directly to help influence and push the legislature in the right direction. I'll work. I mean, they're supposed to be Republicans. We'll work together, and I want to, but I'm not going to be afraid to use the bully pulpit.
The bully pulpit is great, and you're going to do that. But I loved your other comment. You're going to find out what powers you do have as a governor and use every one of them. And I think that's why Trump's been so successful in his first 100 days. Yeah. He had a team of people saying, where do I have jurisdiction? What can I do? I'm doing it.
Yes.
And you'll notice even, and that's a good example. I'm glad you brought it up, because one of the first things that happened when he started doing all the tariffs, who opposed him doing the tariff stuff? You notice in Congress, it was some Republicans saying, whoa, we don't necessarily want our president doing this stuff. It's what's happened, and especially in a place like Kansas where the people are so conservative, the public in conservative is deep red. It's very much so. But what your legislature is not that. And I'm going to show, by the way, I'll show that graph on Friday night. I'll show you how your legislators in Kansas vote. It's scary looking.
Yes.
It's not a pretty thing. So what's happening is, if you want to be a legislator in Kansas, you can't get elected as a D most of the state. So you put an R in front of your name and you get elected as a D. You get elected as an R, but then you behave like a D. And you can see that in the voting record. So that's the situation in your state. You do have a legislator there. He's a state senator. I'm very fond of him, Randy Garber. He's out there, the west side of the state. He's kind of untouchable because it's such a red area of the state, a large red area. And so he's the one who invited me in to speak to the legislature. And I was honored to do so. And he's told me a lot of inside stories about your legislature and a lot of the malfeasance that's going on there. So I think if you're elected, it's not going to be a trivial thing to clean up that swamp. Just like it's not a trivial thing for Trump to clean up this swamp in D.C. Well, and the swamp isn't just on, everybody says, oh, it's those evil Democrats.
No.
You got a problem on both sides of the aisle there.
100%. Yep. Let's talk about Friday in the closing few minutes that we have here. Your Follow the Data tour coming to Overland Park, Kansas. It's actually going to be at the Johnson County Republican headquarters. They're not specifically sponsoring the event. I want to be clear about that, but you are going to be appearing at their headquarters. And ladies and gentlemen, the address is 10107 West 105th Street. During this interview, I'll be showing the flyer, the information, and the address and so forth for everybody. And it's Friday night, May 9th from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. You're going to be there, and you're going to be talking about your 7 steps and how we use the data, yes, but how we as patriots get involved in our local level to course correct the future of Kansas.
We are the solution. And it sounds so trite to hear myself say that, because, I heard that growing up, that we the people, have all the power and everything. But to actually experience it firsthand and realize, no, that really is the power. People just need strategy. And I spend a lot of time working with grassroots teams, teaching them the strategies that they need to be using. And we're starting to have some pretty good successes around the country. I can share some of those on Friday night too.
Dr. Frank, where can people find you to offer their prayerful and financial and other support to you?
Well, thank you for that. I don't accept any donations online. I don't I don't ask for money. I made a deal with God 4 years ago. I said, if I'm going to be doing this, God, you got to provide. I didn't want to be associated with grifters. And so as I travel around, people just donate. They'll pass the hat when I'm at the event. So if you want to help me, that's the way to help me financially. And I do appreciate it, because I'm trying to pay for my plane tickets and everything everywhere I go. But I don't ask for money. I just, please, you can donate. That's great. Okay. And then if the people want to follow me, the best way to follow me is on social media. Because I used to have a website, but they took it all down. So the best way, I've started a new YouTube channel, which is interesting. I did it as an experiment because they took my last one down. It's been up almost 7 months now, so it's pretty successful. So you could look me up on YouTube. Look for Follow the Data with Dr. Frank. You can find me on Rumble, on X. You can find me on Facebook. I've got all these accounts. When Facebook took me down and YouTube took me down, I walked away from them. I decided not to use them for a couple of years, and I was basically doing Rumble and Gab and all the sort of conservative places. But about a year ago, I rebooted. I started the YouTube and Facebook stuff again, and that stuff's really growing. It's quite well. I've got a good following there. So
Good.
all I'm saying is if you're a Facebook person, that's probably the easiest place to find me. Look for Douglas G. Frank there, because they took down my pages. Only my personal accounts up there, so you can follow that. And you'll see, you'll know it's me because I got a picture there with me and my daughter Nellie, who has the love gene, as you put it.
Yes.
The 23rd chromosome, the 21st chromosome. She's got an extra one, but I've got a picture of her there with me and Mr. Lindell. I spoke at the president's rally, first rally after he was out of office, and he had tasked me with explaining to the world how they stole my elections, and so I brought Nellie to that. So Nellie's famous. Everybody knows who Nellie is.
Wonderful. Well, that's good. My own Michael has been on the stage with me before too, and it's just, he loves it, and they love him. They would rather just see Michael, to be honest with you.
I know. I take Nellie with me everywhere. People are like, she's more famous than me.
I know. Well, listen, I would love to talk to you, and maybe we can, one of these days, speaking of X, we can do an X Spaces together and get.
I'll be delighted. Sure.
We do those often, and to maybe we mention some of this to your other friends, Mr. Lindell and others, to get them to,
Sure.
at Kansas, it's not just flyover country here. We are important in regard to the trend of integrity issues with regards to elections in the country.
Agreed.
Yep.
And I always describe it. We need to build beachheads. We're in a war, and you don't win a war by attacking Berlin on the first day. Everybody wants the silver bullet. Everybody wants the nuclear bomb that wins the day. It's not how it works. If you want to attack Germany, you got to find a beachhead. You got to have infrastructure, and you got to plan Normandy. And while you're getting ready to invade Normandy, you have to build an underground.
Yes.
And so what we really need is states that are where the people are conservative, like Kansas and Missouri, which is where I am now, and other conservative places. We need them to step up and say, we're going to have integrity in our state. And then that's the model for the other states. You're basically exposing it. But I got to tell you, there are powerful forces opposing this work. I met with a member of Congress a couple years ago. I can't use names, but he's on an important committee there. And I showed him the data for his own county in his own state. I'm not going to give away identities. And he looked at me, and as we were leaving, he shook my hand and he looked at me. He says, "Dr. Frank," he says, "you have no idea the forces you're up against." So it's one of the reasons why we can't win from the top down, because those forces are very active at the top. We have to win from the bottom. It has to be the people saying, enough is enough. We're not putting up with anymore. And for that to happen, the pain level has to get a little worse. Some of my best success in the country is in California and Oregon. And people are like, how can you be successful out there? That's communism.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. The communism, the pain level is high. The people are already awake. Places like Kansas and Missouri, you guys don't feel the pain as much. And so, there's more apathy, and it's hard to wake the people up. So you guys have a choice. You can either be proactive and engaged now, or you can wait till it's bad and then react. I recommend you start now. You plan your Normandy invasion now. Let's build some beachheads.
Wonderfully put. Well met. Well, listen, everybody, again, Dr. Doug Frank and the Follow the Data Tour coming to Overland Park, Kansas this Friday, May 9th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. I'll have the information right there on the screen for you throughout the interview. Please join us this Friday night in Overland Park, Kansas, and we will see you then. Dr. Frank, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your patriotism and everything that you've done for this republic.
Back at you, brother. I feel the same about you, which is why I'm going to be delighted to endorse you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time, everybody. For the Republic. Cheers. Well, there it was. What a powerful and really, I think, an insightful interview and a conversation with the premier election integrity guru in the United States of America, Dr. Doug Frank. Please join us Friday night, May 9th in Overland Park for his appearance, and where he will be in person discussing this and much, much more, and showing you, without a shadow of any doubt, the data behind his findings. And to his point, we're not going to win with the data. The data is great, but we're going to win with you, the grassroots conservatives and independent-minded, intellectually mature people in this country and this state who will take Kansas back from the grip of the communist-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. We will prevail. We will. And with your help, we're going to make Kansas great again. If you're interested in anything that Dr. Frank said and you want to help him, please come and join us on Friday in Overland Park, or follow him on his social media platforms. And as far as my campaign goes, you can always find us at DougBillingsForKansas.com. Doug Billings for FOR Kansas.com. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. We are in this together. Believe it. For the Republic, for Kansas. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse. Electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code DOUG.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.